post this here. And then the chat should be right here.
This is a professional setup you have here.
Like that? I mean, if you have 4 monitors and you don't use all 4, you're just an asshole. It's like, what's the point of having 4 monitors if you can't even throw chat up on shit?
Is David Yang a loyal subscriber?
David Yang's OG. David Yang is here all the time. We actually did a mentoring session a while back.
What's his goal? What is he trying to do?
Well, David has not put you on blast, David, or anything like that.
But definitely putting on your blast.
We're starting this video by specifically talking about David. So David is like ex-military, looking for a career change. And remember how we were talking about the Code Mentor site? David is a perfect example of why something like that needs to exist. His mentor that he got assigned told him to study things that were not even being maintained, and they so learn this tool. Meanwhile, Adobe abandoned the tool 6 years ago.
Dreamweaver?
Not Dreamweaver. I forget exactly what it is. I got nothing but love for you, David. No shade.
Let's do some interventions. So so what was the intervention for David that you did?
So David, I put him on the right path. It's like, all right, well, these are the skills and the technologies that are headed in the right direction. While he was going down a direction of my mentor, who had, older guy, had a bunch of experience, but just wasn't, what does a junior dev need to get into the market? Not what did a developer need to get in the market 15 years ago? It's quite different.
That's true.
So
what does a developer need to know now? JavaScript, number 1?
Well, it depends what you want to do. So if you want to do data science, as much as homeboy yesterday said not to learn Python, to learn Python.
I got some interesting videos coming up. I interviewed a guy named Joel. He has a book called Modern CTO. You can find him at moderncto.com. And we shot a video called How to Become a CTO, How to Become a Machine Learning Engineer, and then How to Sell Your First App for $1 million at 18. So those videos will be coming out in the next couple months. Very interesting character. So super excited to have those videos up.
But depending on what you want to do, if we're to say front-end development, because that's sort of my specialty, you need 2 things. You need like 3 or 4 main things. One, you need to obviously be comfortable with HTML, CSS.
Yeah.
You need JavaScript. You need a JavaScript framework that's either React or Angular.
Probably React. You'd say React because you've had more problems by your lack of React knowledge.
Yes, there's more roles in React right now for larger companies specifically. Like if your goal is Facebook, the Googles, the Amazons, React.
So we were hanging out and Google gave him a call, Google recruiter, right?
Yes.
Guess what? The Google recruiter called him and asked, do you know React? It's like, what? Because to give you guys context, React was created by Facebook and Google created Angular. So Google's calling him and asking him, do you know React? So it's like, well, wait, well, why would you ask him if he knows React? Why don't you guys just use your Angular 4 technology? I thought that's what you guys made it for. So Christ-centered dev, I'm guessing he's a loyal guy. He says
that big dick mod wrench.
Big dick mod wrench. Did you give him the mod wrench because he said Christ-centered, so he's loyal? You like that? You like a religious man, don't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So he says
Code God.
Code God centered.
Yeah.
He said, how was the trip in the Philippines? It was good. I enjoy my every trip to the Philippines. I'm gonna go back around May 7th.
Where do you want that?
I like how you had to set up the humidifier every time.
We don't have to have it on.
I like it.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
I like the mist. Yeah, it makes it feel like you're one of those gypsies, like telecard readers.
I'm kind of a gypsy. I do move around every couple months. I never renew a lease. It's just 1 year later. All right, we gotta move to the next apartment, y'all.
So so Christ-centered dev was part of the bootcamp in Baguio. It's the first bootcamp in Baguio. So they teamed up with a couple Australian co-founders, and then it's pretty genius because like in the Philippines their wages are much lower, right? So these Australian companies would be more than willing to have these developers intern for them for like small things, and then at the same time this coding bootcamp in Baguio, which I forgot what the name was, they get experience while the Australian companies get cheap labor. So it's a win-win on both sides. I think a lot of students there had a good experience.
Yeah, it's I still really want to go to a boot camp for the experience. I don't know that it'll ever actually make sense financially to do it, but one day I might do it. Not like an online one. I want to be straight up in it, just like, because I never did the dorm thing either. I was just always renting a room or whatever. So it'd be probably as close as I would get. Going back to a boot camp at 40 with like 12 years experience of that.
After you're working for Google?
Yeah.
Oh, so Christ Center Dev, did you have a good experience at Vibex Academy? And did most of the other students get jobs as web developers? To be honest, Dylan gave me a good idea for my YouTube channel to build a SaaS. So I might be hiring Filipino devs pretty soon. But I'll probably look for experienced devs because the project is definitely not for new grad.
Yeah, it actually, that's the thing, is like I always want to build some sort of SaaS software, but I just don't know what I'm passionate enough quite yet about to dive in, because it's not like any other project where, oh, I'll spend 2-3 weekends. It's like, well, I'm gonna spend 6-7 months building said platform.
What's Coder Academy? You know, is that something you reference?
What
the problem that Coder Academy provided was total crap. Only 3 out of 21 students got jobs from it.
Never heard of it. So it'd be interesting. There's a lot of, so that's the thing, is a lot of times when you're choosing a boot camp, what you really need to do is, first off, do your research. Make sure that the subject matter being taught is relevant to the job market. It's really easy to just search junior roles and see if it lines up with the syllabus.
Yeah.
And from there, go to reviews and just, it's better to pay $1,000 or $2,000 extra for a curriculum that has better reviews than to risk $2,000 and then just get long dicked by the job hunt.
Well, I think that's why our job is so important, because like we're both, I mean, we worked with Dev Mountain in the past. I went to Dev Mountain directly, and I'll say that shit works. And every single, like, you just got a message on LinkedIn from one of your subscribers.
Yeah.
Who went to Dev Mountain. He got a job, right?
Yep.
Dude, like
month after he started.
A month after
after he ended.
After he ended, right? So that's why, you know, what we do, what we find is important, that we recommend you guys the boot camps that actually work. We're not going to recommend you. Can we talk about Iron Yard?
We can talk about. I have no problem talking.
They're out of business. They're out of business now, so it doesn't really matter. But like, I mean, you went to Iron Yard, and you were like, "Nah, man, Matt, this is not." Yeah. I
went to the graduation.
You called me right after.
Yeah.
What did you say?
So I went to the graduation of Iron Yard, where they had like their 20 or 25 students, and the only of the 25, the only 2 that I would give a internship to based off the projects presented, were 2 that already had bachelor's degrees in computer science, and they were just looking to up their skill set, and it was so unbelievably concerning. It was also, I went and they were 3 weeks in, and the guy couldn't do a for loop, but they were starting React on Monday, and that was Friday night. And I was just
There's no way.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way.
No, exactly. There's absolutely no way. And they're just taking the dude's money at that point.
Yeah, they are. No, here's the thing is, like, you know what's funny, interesting is we didn't have a lot of insight to coding boot camps. We were like, we didn't know whether they're good or whether they're bad. So I went to Dev Mountain. I was like, dude, this is pretty good. Like, all the students are here pretty good. And I showed Dylan my projects. He's like, these are really good projects. I showed him some of my classmates' projects, I think, and they're like pretty decent. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, not all the students were good. We had a couple students that had to they had a term for it. It's basically you step back. You get remediated.
You're reviewing the 7th grade, basically.
Yeah.
We graduated.
We had some. They had a technical term for it. Basically means like you had to retake another term. Yeah, but they did that for free. They didn't charge you extra for it. You could actually step back as many times as you'd like, because they know that your goal is to get out of there as soon as possible. Mm. But so since Dev Mountain was the only coding bootcamp that offered that, like the remedial basically means like you fall back a grade. I knew they're legit, because that means they don't want you to finish until you know what you're doing.
Yeah, boot camps are interesting because they're so anything when it comes to education is so scam based that it's hard to find the good ones, because it's like, oh well, here are some people who are looking for a better, brighter future, and I'm going to paint them the best picture.
But to be honest, you're better off going with a coding boot camp than ever with like DeVry or University of Phoenix
Well,
any of that kind of crap.
It's just funny because one of the Dev Mountain grads
Yeah.
Got hired by a university who was starting their own boot camp.
Yeah.
After he graduated a boot camp, that was his first job out of there, and it's like
to teach at a boot camp.
To teach at a boot camp,
and
it's like good for him. But if I'm going to a boot camp, I want someone who's worked in the industry. I want someone who has years of experience, and that's why like it's really important to understand who your instructors are.
Yeah.
And like I think Dev Mountain says, look, our average instructor length is 7 years.
Someone wanted to ask where the humidifier was. It's just out of screen. Don't worry, bro. Don't worry, bro. We got you. Yeah. Humidifier's here, man. I've been having a bloody nose, so you know this Florida dry heat. So gotta make sure I got.
It's always here.
Nice humidity there. This is in the corner. What are you saying?
But yeah, it's just insane to say. Okay, well, this guy who just graduated boot camp 3 months.
Yeah.
He's gonna start teaching these other people who are gonna graduate a boot camp in 3 months. And
you should probably work. That's pulling a codesmith.
Yeah. So that's also one of the reasons I try and tell people to stay away from university ran boot camps because
stupid as
they are such a cash grab.
And they charge more because you have that. It's funny because it's UCI or because it's UCLA, they add like $5,000 or $10,000 because you get a UCLA certificate. So what you're paying for is that UCLA certificate that's $10,000 because it's certified, right? It's certified. Meanwhile, the education sucks, and you pay twice as much than what you should have for the same education.
There's a girl who has a master's, and then she went and and it's like in some bullshit liberal arts stuff. I've tutored her before, and she's graduated through the Florida State coding boot camp, and I saw the syllabus. I was like, send me a syllabus. It's 6 months of content, and it covers like 2 or 3 different stacks, and the entire last month is devoted to WordPress. And that was the final straw for me. I was like,
well, hold on. Well, WordPress is actually in-demand skill, though.
WordPress, yes. Just like there are plenty of cashiers at fast food places that need, like, I get the WordPress is going for the low-hanging fruit. And the issue that I have with it is not that there aren't jobs. It's just that they're not good jobs. And so while you go to WordPress and you will get a job, maybe sooner than.
It depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you're looking to max out at 60,000. Fine.
If you're looking to build your own website though, and you're looking to monetize your own website, even Empire Flippers is a multi-million-dollar company. Their website's on WordPress.
Yes, but how many developers do they probably have? One.
They have one developer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how WordPress will always go. You will have one developer most of the time.
But so there's a reason why they would use WordPress though, right? Because like someone could be a WordPress developer, but then someone could still go in and modify things, add posts, add pages, and then not F things up. And then
it's a content management system.
It's a content management system. So it works. So even multi-million-dollar companies, you still use a WordPress. So there's still like there's a lot of multi-million-dollar companies because here's the thing is like you don't want to always have to go to a dev. Like say you have a website like even like Empire Flippers where they have a marketplace. They want to be able to go in there and edit themselves. They don't want to have that process of like, oh, I want to add one little job posting. I have to go through my web developer.
And I'm not saying that it's not convenient or it doesn't have its place because it clearly has its place. Everyone needs, there's a reason that there's freelance clients doing the small business websites. But I'm saying that for every large company that uses WordPress, there's 95% that are small, tiny companies where you're gonna get shit on as a WordPress developer. That's kind of my argument. Quick shout out to Ricky Garcia who donated $10. Thank you, man. If you guys haven't subscribed to him, I will definitely for $10 recommend that you do subscribe to him. No, but
appreciate it, Ricky. So about the coding bootcamp in Baguio, Christ Center Dev said he actually didn't like his experience there. So he said, I ended up having to learn on my own resources at the coding bootcamp. That's a very bad thing. You should not be learning on your own. The whole point of paying to go to a coding bootcamp is to ask them, to have them guide you. So if you're learning on your own, you can always learn on your own. You're saying. So he said at week 3 he noticed the problem, and week 8 he dropped out because he wasn't going to continue paying a ton of money each month when he was learning from his own resources. So it turns out sounds like we need to start a coding bootcamp in the Philippines. It sounds like what we need to do.
I'll just make a syllabus of Udemy courses and be like, hey, do this. if you have any questions.
Yeah, and we'll charge a fraction of the price. A coding bootcamp is not. Would you be willing to start a coding bootcamp in the Philippines down the road after you get that? So we have a chip on our shoulder. We need to get Dylan a job at Amazon, Facebook, or Google, because every single YouTube video title will have Google engineer.
Like clickbait.
Google
it's not
engineer.
even clickbait. It's just
soft. It'll be like Skillshare course by Google engineer, right?
Mm-hmm. It's off. Yeah.
Then when he quits, it'll be like ex-Google engineer starts coding bootcamp in the Philippines.
That's exactly how it's going to go down.
We won't run out of business if you say shit like that.
I would. So I as someone who enjoys learning and teaching, which is a key part, I would love to start some sort of boot camp or be a part of one. I've actually
we could kill it in the Philippines, but what we could charge is a lot lower than in the US.
I've applied to several boot camps in the past. Basically got denied because of lack of experience, but maybe in the future.
Yeah. What was our saying from yesterday? So this is one of our tips that's going to be in the video called How to Become a CTO. It says, no means no, but you can always keep asking.
Yeah.
That's a live quote, guys. So you got to get that.
Persistence.
Put that on your wall. No means no, but you could always keep asking. So Dylan has been rejected by all these companies multiple times, but
all the time.
It's
just no. But that's the thing is, like, just because you fail, and someone asked me recently, like, have I ever been interviewed with Amazon or Facebook? And I have, and I failed my technical interviews, but it doesn't mean I'm not gonna. And
I like that you openly say it. You're like, you called me and you manned up to you. You're like, Matt, I fucking bombed that interview. Fucking terrible. Yeah. But here's the thing is, you gotta have that failure, because like next time you have an Amazon interview, you're gonna
be more relaxed.
You might do a little bit better.
Yeah, some time has passed. I'll go through the motions again, and you get better and improve, and you only got it.
Oh, so to give context, he didn't get denied from a boot camp. He got denied from working at Amazon.
Yes, at Amazon.
We switched topics really quickly.
Yeah. But you only have to get hired once. You know what I'm saying? They can reject me all day. I just gotta get that job one time. That's how I see it. So.
Flatiron. Flatiron is an OG one. Flatiron is a good one. So that's the thing is, like, you got to make sure your name is unique, because it sounds too fucking close to IronYard. But Flatiron and Hack Reactor are about the same age. They came out at about the same time.
I don't know too much about Flatiron.
Flatiron.
I will say that everyone who I've talked to from Hack Reactor just seems to be a genius. I feel stupid around them, so
dude,
they're doing a good job.
I failed their test to get in.
Did you?
Yeah, I failed it. I wasn't gonna pay anyways, but I didn't want to go for free. But their tests involved recursion, I think. Is that the right term?
Yeah, recursion.
Yeah, so their tests involved recursion, which is you know JavaScript if you know recursion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think it also involved this, and if you understand this and recursion, you probably understand JavaScript.
Well, Hack Reactor is a boot camp where you pretty much already have to know how to code.
You can actually already get a job as a dev.
Yeah.
You just got to know the nitty gritty. So Cynthia says she's starting a boot camp in NYC. She got a scholarship to Flatiron. How'd you get the scholarship, Cynthia? And by the way, congrats. So Cynthia, you're gonna switch from digital marketing to learning how to code, or you just want to learn both skill sets because you're just a boss like that. In the meantime, Baguio City was the best place I ever lived. 70 degrees Fahrenheit year round. Awesome people, amazing food. So Baguio is the only city in the Philippines that you can get 300 Mbps because there's no one else uses the internet towers. that's not a joke. So there's like screenshots of their bootcamp founder who like would post the screenshots of speed test app, and it would say like 300 Mbps. I don't even see that shit in America, but it's because no one uses the internet up there except for the bootcamp and their co-working space.
Living that internet dream.
Yeah.
Look, there's always going to be people who are going to quit Google or Facebook or Amazon or every company. Shit, man. There's still people today commenting on his video why quit engineering, tell him how he's going to be fucking a crackhead on the street. So there's always
it's like 3 years old too.
It's like, bro, We already made it. Right? This ain't a conversation
anymore. I know, it's funny because I'll be like, people are like, so about 3 years ago, to give you guys context, I made a video like why I quit engineering. And then people are like, in the beginning, people were like, oh, you're not going to make it, blah, 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 which it makes sense at the time, doubters, right? Or people said you're going to be a fucking idiot. And then now people are still writing I'm an idiot. And I'll be like on an island in the Philippines with like a mojito, like reading this shit. I'm like, yo, do you even know where I am right now? Like, just check my fucking Instagram. I'm like, you check my Instagram story. Like, I'm in the beach in the Philippines, and in my residual income from YouTube, I probably I've earned more money than most people at their day job. It's like, dude, come on. I mean, at some point, you just gotta just accept that I've made it. No, will everybody make it? No, but I made it.
How much is my audience US based? About 55%.
Only 55% of your audience is US based?
Yeah. I have a lot of Europe and international, India. It's like 55, and it's just, I think the next like drop off is like 7%, and then it just goes into the low single digits.
I got 85% Americans. So it's kind of fucked up. So Christ Center Dev said they didn't give the high-speed internet to students. They just give the students 1 to 3 megabytes Mbps. That's pretty fucked up. They're the high-paying customers too.
I just imagine you going to them like, Annie, please, sir, can I have some more speed?
It's Timothy.
It's Timothy. There you go.
It's pretty fucked up because for me, if you're high-paying customers, which is the coding bootcamp students, you got to give them the high-speed internet. Or at least better than 1 to 3 Mbps. Give them 10, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, give them 20. I don't know. You gotta give them 1. It's fucking poverty shit. They're like trying to watch a video, just buffering the whole fucking time. Trying to watch your videos, just buffering the whole time.
I have a legit question that may be perceived as offensive. I've watched both of your videos, but why should I take advice from you guys who can't get a job at one of the big companies? I'll get a job at one of the big companies soon, but that wasn't always my goal. Most people don't get a job at Google for their first job, or their, Facebook or Amazon. You kind of work your way into that role, which is probably how I would say most people go about it. But
so actually,
working
what you should ask, according to Joel, is why are you chasing the company instead of chasing to learn from the experts in your industry? If your goal is to become the best developer possible, you're doing it the wrong way. You should be chasing. Who's the guy that made React Redux? He's like a famous. There's like really famous developers you guys don't even know, who no one goes to because no one thinks of that shit. Like the guy who created React Redux, and you can go after him and mentor under him, which would be a lot better for your career than trying to go straight for Google, because you're just. For Google, every job for Google, you're going to be applying against 1,000 people. But the guy who created React Redux probably gets like 1 email a day because nobody thinks of to hit him up to mentor under him.
Yeah. Also, I think there's this sort of like you've made it if you've made it to the big 4. Meanwhile, there's 99% of developers will never work at a Google, a Facebook, or Amazon. They'll work at a million other companies. And so a lot of times, you just have to kind of get into the mentality that if you want that job, just work towards it, you'll get it. But a lot of times, most people don't even want that. They just want to make a good salary and live in a good area. Not everyone wants to live in SF and pay $5,000 in rent and live in a 400 square foot apartment. Well,
I think we define success differently. Like despite you wanting to work at Amazon, Google, Facebook, you know that you're never going to stay there. You're not a lifer.
No.
Like you're maybe at 5 years cap, you're done for sure. So we define success as creating your own product and then creating your own thing and then making money so that you can also enjoy the beach in the Philippines, enjoying a mojito. To us, that's success. Because here's the thing. Would you rather earn $1,000 a day working at Google, working 8 hours per day, or maybe even 9 or 10 hours per day? Or would you rather create your own thing and earn $1,000 a day and you just sat on a beach because your SaaS product earned you $1,000 that day? Or your YouTube channel earned you $1,000 that day? So we would much rather do that. That's our definition of success. Oh, by the way, so in the Philippines, like their salaries are like between like $300 a month to like up to $2,000 a month. Usually, that's like their range. At the coding bootcamp, they're paying $1,000 a month. We could teach some pretty good code for $1,000 a month. I'll tell you that. I'll do the marketing, you do the teaching.
There we go.
April do the admin.
Yeah, she just run the
give her a job. Yeah, no, that's a full-time job, and we'll give them faster speeds than 1 to 3 Mbps.
We'll guarantee you 5 Mbps.
We'll guarantee 5.
Yeah,
you're gonna give them at least 20, man. You need to watch some videos.
Why does he keep mentioning the Philippines? He lives in the Philippines half the year. That's pretty much why.
Yeah. So then, Cynthia says, "What do you guys say are the most popular language frameworks to know in 2018?"
If you're talking about front end, it's React, and then probably followed by Angular.
What backend should they learn? Node or C?
So Node is like the quick. Let's get comfortable with JavaScript, but there's a lot of companies that don't use Node. The truth of the matter is, as much as I hate to say, it's PHP or C# for the backend. It's the backend is a little bit more feisty. C# and .NET is great because a lot of corporate companies use it, and that allows you to get fat salaries because that's pretty much all corporate companies have to offer you. And then Node is great because it's quick development. You can get up, if you're not familiar with backend, go straight into a JavaScript backend. PHP, there's just a ton of jobs in PHP, but then it's also PHP.
So Richard to say, what language should I do it with? Do what with? Oh, I want to make a program that files out a PDF form from information on another program. I would just find a library that outputs PDFs from your other program. There's a library for it. Don't try to recreate it from scratch.
Yeah, if possible. I mean, you're always welcome to write your own program if you're really trying to market it. But if it's just adding a feature to your website,
someone else has already made that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very rare for you to make something that doesn't exist. Doesn't mean you can't put your own spin on it, add your own features.
Sure.
It's just like anything else. It probably exists, but can you make it better? And can you make it better so much so that even though that they have the brand recognition, they're going to come to your product and you're going to be the new brand.
So someone has asked, I'm a starting web dev. Should I charge my friends and family because I'm broke? How much should I charge? You should always charge. And how much you should charge is take what you feel like is your growing hourly rate at your time. Maybe that's $10 an hour, and just like quote them for ahead of time.
Yeah, my thing on charging is charge what it's worth. What it's worth for your time, right?
Yeah, charge what it's worth for your time. And don't worry about your first sale. Like, your first sale is mentally the hardest part. So you really just want to get your first sale out as immediately as possible. And then you can worry about charging what you feel like you deserve. But you want to get the first sale out right away.
Yeah, like when I started at 12, I moved to 15, I moved to 20.
We all started
25. Low. And now if someone wants to hire me freelance, it's $90 an hour.
Yeah.
And so you should charge what it's worth for your time and energy.
For EngineeredTruth, my first sponsor mention I've ever charged was like $20, and now I charge $1,000. So it's something that you build up over time because you realize you kind of feel like what the market's worth in my case, my video mentions. So the next question is, how do you motivate yourself working so many hours on coding and not standard 9 to 5? You get this question every day, don't you?
I get this all the time.
So don't you feel like you miss out on life or have regrets later in life without losing on your life experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I do work a lot. I work a standard 9 to 5. So it sounds like you think I don't have a job. I am working Monday through Friday at 9 to 5. And then in the morning I study. After work I study. On the weekends I study. I build things. It's just to get to that destination, to work to where you want to go, to be where you want to be. And part of the thing, and Matt can testify since he's been in Florida, is part of the reason I love being in Florida is I'm secluded from all distractions. I don't know anybody. I don't know what to do. So I'm able to stay here and be focused.
Almost too secluded, really.
Yeah.
So that's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah, and it's also just about how bad do you want it, right? So it's real easy to go and just pop in League of Legends or just drink yourself to stupidity and not have to stress about being better and doing better. But it just all depends on what it is that you want to accomplish. And if you actually want to work towards it's hard work, right? It's not easy waking up at 5, working 2.5 hours, and then going to work.
Do you see how tired Dylan looks right now? He looks even more tired in person.
Yeah.
How long have we known each other? Since we were 13?
12? However old you are in the 6th grade.
11.
11?
So that's
so like 19 or 20 years.
19, 20 years. But this is also important because we helped each other a lot, right? Like I help you get a boost in subscribers. Like for example, the full stack interview that I did for you with you has 100,000 views. That's why it's so important to not be so. Even though it is important to work a lot, it's also important to find a colleague or a friend who really understands your mindset. Like Dylan made a joke the other day. It's like, Matt, I can't even find another person with a mindset like we share a mindset, and like we're the only two people that I think we know, at least from our upbringing, with the same mindset as us.
Yeah, there's very few like old friends that are like, okay, well, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna grind out, I'm gonna have a side project. Yeah. The people that like that, other than that, are other YouTubers or other content creators that are in the space, and or the developers that you actually know by name that are out there. The people who are building courses, writing books, like those are the people that I want to be like, and I try to surround myself with. And I have, we're not like best buddies, but we are acquaintances. We communicate over email, talk on the phone every now and again.
So how do you ask? I can't pay for premium tutorials, and I always learn from free websites like FreeCodeCamp and searching and watching YouTube videos. Do you think it makes me slower or weaker than others who can pay? Well, take it from the guy who just wouldn't even buy like a $15 course for years.
I would recommend buying a premium tutorial. And I mean, everyone has their own finance issues, but you can get Udemy tutorials for $10.
They're much more organized, is why I think they're worth it.
Yes.
For example, one of the affiliates I recommend is Skillshare. You get access to 19,000 courses for $15 per month. It's like, dude, you can sack the Netflix subscription for a while to get the Skillshare subscription, and you get access to 19,000 organized courses. The problem with learning from YouTube videos is that they'll make like one tutorial on, we'll say, Scala or some shit like that, and then it'll be like a 1 hour thing, and there's no homework assignments, and there's no follow-up. It's not all put in one place. So you're losing money by losing time by trying to grab all these different things from all these sources instead of having all the information consolidated in one place.
Yeah, it's also that support on like Udemy, right? So like, I know for my courses, when I get questions, I answer them every single time because you actually paid money to take my course first. The people are just getting free content, probably run an ad block. I know you fucks do. But when I was learning, I was just doing free code camp, building my own project. I think the real key, if you really, for whatever reason, you're just in a hut in like Southeast Asia and you really can't afford to buy a course, you should start building your own stuff. That's really it. You just have to build.
So Richard says he hasn't found Skillshare that helpful. I've found Skillshare really helpful, to be honest. Or in difference of opinion. What courses have you tried to take on Skillshare, Richard?
Yeah, I feel like when you have a platform like Skillshare, you have to find those creators that are good because anyone can post, right? Anyone can upload and go from there.
Well, there's 19,000, so you do have to do a little bit of searching. How can you not be able to afford a free code camp? It's funny. So Sam asked, how do I get more clients for my web developer agency? So you hire a high ticket closer and you pay him only commission. You have to have someone. So here's the thing is, so many people ask me, how do I become a freelance web developer? I have a question for you. Are you confident enough to get someone on the phone and close them for $10,000 to make their website? You probably aren't, right? And you probably don't know how to do that. You probably don't know how to find people. You probably don't know. You probably don't want to do it. And then most of all, you don't know the techniques and the skills to close someone to pay you tens of thousands of dollars to do their website. So what you do is you find a high ticket closer and you only pay them a commission, and their job is to go find people for you. But you got to give them a considerable commission, or otherwise they're not going to do it.
How much money do you get for the course you created on Udemy? I have 2 small courses on Udemy, one JavaScript, one on Angular 3.6, one on Angular 2+. And I've made about $500 for each one of them, and they're still bringing in money.
I know it depends on the context, but it's a pretty common question. What's the average starting salary for a junior front-end developer? Depends on where.
Yeah, it drastically depends on where. If I was just to give you a ballpark random number based on all 50 states, I would say somewhere between 55 and 60,000. My first role in Tampa, Florida area, I got 62,000. That got bumped up to 67,000 after 3 months.
I wouldn't care about where you start. So many people are focused on where you start. Yes. Nobody cares about where you start. It's about where you are 5 years after you start. It's more important. Like, for example, I've been promoting a digital marketing course, and people are like, oh, he only got a $40,000 job after 3 months. We gotten people 40,000. For example, Cynthia is one example. Cynthia took our course in digital marketing. She got a job in digital marketing in like a month for 40,000 or 45,000. People are like, oh, $45,000 salary starting. What are you supposed to do with that, dude? She got it in like a month after taking the course. It's not about where you start. It's about where you are 5 years, or it's about the trajectory. It's about the potential, and it's also about the respect and skills that you learn. Something like digital marketing or web development, it has such good potential to not only get a high salary later on, but also do your own thing.
Yeah, it's just like someone's like, oh, that's so low, $60,000 starting salary. I think that's a fine starting salary because in 2 years you're gonna be at 80,000. 2 years after that, you're gonna be at 100,000. 2 years after that, you're gonna be at 120,000.
And the reason we're focused on coding and we're also focused on digital marketing is because they offer a lot of opportunity to start your own thing and also a lot of opportunity to work remotely. Mm-hmm. And that's why we keep promoting it. That's why I don't really want to make videos about mechanical engineering, civil engineering, environmental engineering anymore, because I know, first of all, those careers get capped. They have low opportunity to start your own thing, and they have zero opportunity for remote work. So that's why I don't really like to promote those careers, because it doesn't offer you the lifestyle and the potential that coding or digital marketing would offer.
And also, if you do, the most important thing you need to consider when you're starting your first developer job is just getting the job, getting the experience. And let's say you start at 30,000, heaven forbid. Let's say you do. Your goal, 6 months, grind it out, study everything you can, become such a better developer, get the experience, and immediately start applying to a job that pays 60.
So Sam, if you're looking for a high-ticket closer, I recommend you going to Dan Locke and asking him for a high-ticket closer. He teaches a course on high-ticket closing, and then his graduates, he's looking for people to hire his graduates to be high-ticket closers, only paid on commission, and those students are willing to, they want to do that job. So a lot of you guys may not understand that, but there are people who want to do high-ticket closing. That's their passion, and it's also very efficient for them to make money, and they can do it remotely, and all they need is a phone. So go to Dan Locke, email his staff, and ask for a high-ticket closer. They're having a cohort graduate next week, and they're going to have about 20 plus students, or maybe even like 100. I'm not sure how many people are in the program. It's a remote program, but he has like a load of students that want to do high-ticket closing, because imagine this. You jump on the phone call, 30 minutes, you get off the phone call, you close the $10,000 client, you get $2,000. You know, so some people really enjoy that lifestyle.
Is becoming a QA analyst tester a good choice? It depends on what it is that you're trying to do. There's always going to be a role for quality assurance in software development. It's slightly different than being a developer. There's white box testing, there's black box testing. It really depends on what you're trying to do. But yeah, you can make decent money as a QA. I typically believe it's a little less development, but not everybody wants to put in time outside of work to stay up to date. And you don't necessarily have to do that with quality assurance. You just have to, it's not as in demand, but it's definitely a skill that's needed.
Yeah. So Cynthia says, true, I'm hoping that my digital marketing background will give me a leg up in salary, but there are so many SaaS products that are related to digital marketing. So if you have a digital marketing background and then you apply to a SaaS company for digital marketing, you're almost guaranteed an interview.
Yeah, this is one of those things where people are like, well, what do I put on my resume? Should I include my experience if I don't have any in front end? It's like, well, if you actually take your experience and it's applicable, right? You're applying to a construction company that needs a software developer, and you used to be in construction, yes. And
absolutely,
it's a plus. It's nothing but a plus.
Huge plus, actually. It's what makes you unique. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my gosh, like someone who with the technical skills, web developer skills, and also knows our industry.
Yes,
that's hard to find. That's you're the needle in the haystack at that point.
And that's why the digital marketing is very good as well, because every company has a marketing department, and it's going to appreciate that you can do that.
Let's see here. Oh, what was the digital marketing course? If you go to my YouTube channel, EngineeredTruth, there's a huge testimonial playlist that's on the channel page. It says digital marketing testimonials. Just watch one of those videos and you'll see what we're talking about.
What sites was I looking at while applying for my first job? I was applying. I did a little bit of Craigslist, but the most of it was LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter.
So Atro asked, what did you guys read Dan Locke's book FU Money? And so what do you think of it? So Dan Locke has a book that you can download for free if you watch his webinar. Just sign up for his webinar. And it's very interesting because if I had read this book a year ago, I would be annoyed by it because it talks about like mindset. It's a lot of mindset stuff. But at the same time, he said things that are counterintuitive. And what I realized, life is like full circle, right? Like I used to think the mindset stuff and your psychology was the most important thing. Then I reached a point where I was like, you only need to know technical skills, right? And then I listened to your stories about how your web developers, yeah, they have technical skills, but they don't have the mindset to grow, right? They're just going to their job for the last 5 years. They're not improving. So then it kind of comes back in a full circle where it's like, no, your mindset is a lot of things. So with Dan Locke's book is that it really sets you up the mindset of how you should think of money. And I agree with almost everything he said in that book. For example, he says like, if you want to be a millionaire, you should spend like you are a millionaire. And like people don't really understand that. They'll disagree with that. People say like you got to spend under your means, which is what I believed before. But ever since I've been spending more money, I've had a lot more drive to earn more money. Whereas when I was so frugal with my money, like for example, 2016, 2017, I was very frugal with my money. And I was earning a lot more money than I was spending. But in doing that, I had no motivation to work harder because imagine I'm saving more than 50% of what I make. What's my motivation to work harder if I'm saving over 50% of what I make, right? It's like, what's the point at that? What's the point? But once I started spending more, then now I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta actually work. So
that living in the Audi.
I'd be living. So yeah. So in spending more, it makes me work more. And so recently I just flew business class. First time in my life, right? And like after I flew business class, I started working a lot more. And then recently I just bought an Audi, which you guys can find on my Instagram. I bought an Audi. And ever since I bought the Audi, I've been working extra more. So in spending more and treating yourself like a millionaire, you want to identify as the persona as someone that's a millionaire, right? And a millionaire isn't gonna still drive a 2000 Camry when he doesn't need to, right? So in behaving like a millionaire, you actually start acting like a millionaire because you identify as someone like that.
How many hours do you put in coding while you're working for full time? I mean, I work about 2 hours in the morning, about 2 hours after work, and about 8 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday.
So the question is, how do I spin my experience as a general manager at a restaurant into something applicable when applying as a web dev?
So I would say apply it to the company, right? So let's say for some reason you're going into a fintech company, right? Where as a manager, you're probably going to have to do some tax paperwork. You're probably going to have to do some payroll. I would try and spin my bullet points for that role to include the software that you would use for that, as well as just, it's all about relating it to their business. That's how I would do it. I wouldn't be like ordered people around.
Did you already answer the question about how many numbers of hours of consistent practice or more?
I actually did a whole video about this, about how many hours you should code a day. It came out like maybe 2 weeks ago. You can go watch it on the channel, but the gist of it is about 3 to 4 every day. Every single day until you have a fucking job. I'm going to say it one more time because everyone asks this. How many hours a day? How can I get a job? Code every day till you have a job. No excuses.
How many days?
Every day.
Every day? Okay.
Every day.
I'm not sure if I got that.
Until you have a fucking job. And then you'll get a job. Okay? That's just how it works. You need to build up the habits, and you need to, this stuff builds on top of each other.
So, by the way, when I mentioned earlier to spend more, I'm spending more within reason, right? I do spend still less than what I make, but now the ratio is much closer, right? Like maybe now I'll spend about 80% of what I make. And I don't plan to do this like permanently, but for now I want to spend 80% what I make so that I'm incentivized to grow my income. Then the ratio will go down, right? All right, so what kind of technical interview did you have? So have you talked about how 95% of people who apply for developer roles don't know how to make basic code shit.
Yes.
You've already talked about it?
I don't know if I've talked specifically about this, but I find it hard to believe. But
tell them the story. This is actually a pretty funny story.
Okay, so my work has like a 5-step process, and one of the steps is a very introduction whiteboard interview where you come on, they ask you to solve a problem, which essentially just is a for loop with an if statement. It's the most fair technical interview.
It's the first thing you learn in coding.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a number in a function, any number. I want you to return all numbers that are evenly divisible by 5. That's the whiteboard question. It's not a trick question. It's not a hard question. Unfortunately, according to my tech lead and the people on the channel, 95 out of the 100 people cannot solve that problem on a whiteboard. And part of it is probably just applying to jobs before they're ready and not being prepared. Part of it is just not practicing for technical interviews. Part of it's just straight up lying on their resume. So
I couldn't believe this too. So Dylan and I both couldn't believe this when we both heard. So your coworker is telling you that was true, and then you're like, no, there's no way. There's no way. And then you kept asking people, right? And
I asked like 4 other people who do the interviews because I just thought he was bullshitting. So 95% of them cannot do that. Now, I had something very similar. There's another part of the technical interview process, but it goes back. So if you guys haven't heard of FizzBuzz, it's a very similar to a FizzBuzz question. And I think it was like Steve Jobs who said that if you ask the average developer to do the FizzBuzz problem, which essentially is if it's divisible by 5, if it's divisible by 3, if it's divisible by both, print out something.
That's pretty fucking easy.
Yeah.
It's a if with the, hey, it's someone even wrote the answer.
Yeah.
Modulus.
So that if you something, I think Steve, I might be misquoting who it was from, but it was some CEO. Some CEO entrepreneur of note said that 95% of devs can't solve that.
That's crazy. Well, they're not devs yet. They're just applying for dev jobs.
No, he was talking specifically about senior devs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So it's just one of those things where you have to be prepared for simple stuff like that. It's not
that hard to prepare for something like that.
Yeah, and that was a fair thing, and I think part of that, at least their approach is it's super overwhelming doing these technical interviews. You have 4 people there asking you to solve an algorithm on a whiteboard
on the spot,
right? So you're already nervous because you're there. So that's super awkward. And then they followed that up because that's a very easy problem with a technical project, like a 3 to 4 hour project that you go and turn in. It's a lot of work, but I understand why the project follows that. So give us another interview question. It depends. Every company is different.
So Cindy asked, what would you say are the biggest mistakes junior devs make while on the job?
Not asking for help. I think a lot of times, and this goes for a lot of contract employees, so like half contractors are just bad developers, and they refuse to ask for help even though you extend a hand. And so they're so worried about asking for help, they actually get fired because they're doing such a bad job. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Ask for help so that you don't spend 15 hours writing 1 line of code. Instead, someone says, oh, well, do it. This is what you do. And you grow from that learning of working with developers who get it. And that's my number one thing, is ask for help.
When it comes down to it, sounds cliche, but it's not what you know, but it's like your soft skills, right? Like, it's a soft skill to ask what you know, right? And then it's a soft skill to be like, hey, can you help me with this, in a way that finding the timing to help, think about who to ask, think about the way to word it, right? Like, and then also humbling yourself to ask for help, right? Like, that's why your success depends more on your mindset than it is on your technical skills. Because like, you could always it's easier for someone to become technical. It is harder for someone to change their mindset, because your mindset, you feel like that's just the way you think.
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive, because I try to focus so hard on the soft skills. Like, you still have to have the technical skills.
You still have to have the technical skills.
But the soft skills may carry you through when your technical skills are dog shit.
Well, your mentality is what grows you, though, right? Like, because, for example, you work all the time, but then like your coworkers who are also web developers, they don't care. They don't care to work at Google. Their mindset of like having a YouTube channel doesn't make sense to them. Working at Google, applying for jobs in San Francisco doesn't make sense to them, right? So like they're really comfortable with where they are, and then that's just what they chose.
It's just one of the things. They're like, yeah, that's a cool thing to do. I wish I did that. Well, you can. Like you just have to put in the time, right? You just gotta start knocking it out.
So Stephanie asked me, hey Matt, do you feel lonely sometimes because most of your friends are working at a job? I hired 2 full-time employees just so I don't have to be alone. So 2017, I was doing the cliche 4-hour work week stuff. It's typical Tim Ferriss stuff. And then I was like, this is kind of cool, but like Monday through Friday, I really have to look for shit to do during the days because everyone else is at work and it gets kind of boring. So that's why I hired 2 employees to hang out with me, and they're doing work too. But so that's the thing is like the solopreneur thing. As much as people want to advertise it, and I think as much as like that's a good place to get started. Once you're a solopreneur for a couple of years, it gets too lonely, and then that's when it's time to hire people so that you can grow something together, but also so that it's more interactive. You have some social interaction.
Do you think it's possible to change your mindset? If so, you just have to consciously work at it every day, and then eventually it becomes part of your life. A lot of times people are just they're gonna have that one day where, yeah, man, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna get fit, or whatever it is in your life. But you actively have to do it for 30, 90 days until it's part of your life, and then it's much easier.
Well, anyone watching this live stream probably has a better mindset than your average Joe. Because you're taking the time to improve yourself, and I sit in a live stream, and if you sit here and you're watching us, and you it's probably because you share a mindset, right? If you didn't share a mindset, for example, I quit engineering, and I think the cliche like physical engineering is like mechanical aerospace is dumb. So if you're someone that doesn't share that mindset with me, you probably don't tune into my stuff.
For the online presence, what is the percent value of the following? So you can't put percent values on personal branding. You can just say it helps or it doesn't help, because who really knows how much it works? Your GitHub code probably helps a ton. A Stack Overflow profile is going to help. LinkedIn references are going to help. Blog is going to help. Online portfolio. Online portfolio and your GitHub code are the 2 best ones of the options there, though.
Yeah. Well, GitHub code is a portfolio, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially a portfolio.
Essentially. It's just a little different in front end, because front end, most developers, unless you're working with mobile apps, but if you're a backend developer, you don't necessarily have like a microservice setup where people can see your code working and going. But it's definitely more important for the front end to have a visual portfolio that a lot of other languages don't necessarily need.
So you want to have both, right? You want to have the GitHub and Stack Overflow profile, so you're found in the tech world. But at some point, you also need to get found by recruiters, and recruiters aren't looking on GitHub for developers, right? They're looking on LinkedIn. So you got to do everything, and you have to have a balance of everything, because different platforms are for different. You're gonna get discovered in different ways.
Yeah, and it's also this is one of the things that I hate when people ask questions about, should I do this, should I do that? It's like, well, it only helps you. Like these things, there's not like, oh, I have a Stack Overflow profile or I have a GitHub profile. What is the harm that can come from it? Nothing. Literally nothing. It will only help you. So you just gotta keep trucking forward and doing all these things, having a good LinkedIn, all that. It's all the same stuff where it just only helps you.
So then, in terms of mindset, by the way, it's really important that you consume books that focus on mindset. And I wouldn't even ignore it. Like even now with my proper mindset, I read FU Money, which is basically a book on mindset about money. And it's still very helpful to me now. So I think you should always kind of come back to mindset every once in a while. You shouldn't be reading mindset books all day. Like there's only so many Tony Robbins books that you should be reading, but every once in a while revisit the topic so that you stay on point with it. And it's not so much for the practical stuff, but it's more so that the motivational stuff, and success is half motivation. Like if Dylan wasn't motivated to do all the shit he's doing, he wouldn't do any of it, right? He would just probably be still making.
I'd be playing a shit ton of League of Legends. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah, he's playing a shitload of League of Legends, still working at Domino's with the Ford Explorer that made the clickety clack sound.
Clickety clackety clank, gonna blow up any moment.
I feel bad for the guy that drives that car. So backend entry. So this one's for you. Backend engineer entry-level jobs, what advice can you give to someone with no degree or experience who has interest in front end to get a job, who has no interest in front end?
You need to start building microservices. You need to build a portfolio of microservices, and you need to put on your GitHub, do all the other things that we suggest. Your portfolio page will need a front end for them to test and use your microservices to see them and deliver the JSON data formatted back and forth. Code on the GitHub, LinkedIn, resume, all that sort of stuff.
Well, here's the problem with only knowing backend is that you can't really use it unless you do a call from the front end, right?
Well, there's tools like Postman that you can use.
But you still have to have some REST API experience to be able to test to see if it fucking works.
Yeah. You just have to know what tools to use. So it's kind of the front end's client is customers, but back end's client is the front end, and so it's a little bit of a different mindset of that. But you will probably need just to have a simple front end, a form where someone can put in the parameters, test it.
Yeah, you have to know some front end because you got to presentation. Yeah. You don't have to worry about the design though. Like design is something that's just for designers, but you do have to worry about like what the front end is asking for.
Well, yeah, it may be tough to show off a back end project, but that's why you need to make that UI. Be like, here are my 4 REST calls. You know, my post, my put, my delete, my update, and display what changed, how it changed. You could do an audit log with it, and just authentication and go from there.
Someone just said they just got a job at Papa John's. So how many years did you work at Domino's?
Like 5.
I worked at Round Toe Pizza for a year. We all started off in pizza.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to be successful, you got to start off in pizza. That's the secret. Expert secret.
I also worked at Papa John's for 3 months as a second job, and I just stopped showing up. It was an awful job. And Rizzo's Pizza in high school. I've done the pizza trifecta.
So I think we're done with questions, right?
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up. Okay, so if you guys have any super last questions, or if not, we're just gonna go to get some food.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you put on LinkedIn if you just started coding? Put free code camp.
Yeah, put your personal projects. I put all my resume experience, literally down to my very first high school job, just so that people can see I'm always just grinding.
What's your opinion on these starter jobs? Like, should people do it? Should people not do it? Like working at Subway, working at
on their LinkedIn?
Not on their LinkedIn, but like, in their early career, because we did it.
Yes.
I feel like
I didn't have a choice to do it.
But I would still recommend it to someone, even if they're in a situation where they don't have to do it, because it builds character.
No. I would disagree completely. I'm against any job that doesn't help you in the future, and those jobs don't. You may say it helps build character.
I think it helps build character.
Think if you sit in a room and you code 10 hours a day building side projects, you're going to build character that way.
Here's the thing is, coding is only helpful if you find problems in the real world to solve. If you're only coding and you don't...
How the hell does that have Subway? They're still going to be part of the real world. Working at Subway is not going to change that.
But you said you recommend coding all day. However, if you're just coding all day, it's one of those situations where you're not going to be able to have real life experiences to bring into your code to solve real world problems.
Yeah, except people live in the real world and they're going to be going to meetups.
How?
Because all right, let's say we're talking about a 16-year-old kid.
Okay, go ahead.
He has had at least 16 years of experience, even if it's just
but none of it's working though. So first of all, you got to find a problem that people are willing to pay money for. You have to understand how money works.
Well, I'm not suggesting you're talking about starting a massive your own project. I'm simply talking about side projects and starting something, and then the bigger idea as you learn from those side projects, as you network, as you meet people, and you go and develop as an individual, you then will find that bigger project down the road.
But what I'm trying to say is it's when you pull things outside, like for example, YouTube in itself would be boring if you don't pull things like life experiences outside of YouTube into YouTube. For example, you're pulling coding into YouTube. So that's why it makes it interesting. I pull my engineering experience into YouTube. That's why it's interesting. If I didn't have that background of like hating engineering, I would have nothing to say onto YouTube. Same thing with coding. If you don't have like a variety of life experiences, you're not gonna be a good coder because you don't understand like the problems outside of just coding, right? You might be a technical expert in coding, but you don't understand the real life applications of problems you could be solving with code. And we hated our job so fucking much that we were dedicated to never going back to that lifestyle. And unless you have that experience, you're not gonna be as motivated because you're gonna think, oh, like life's not so bad, and then once you do work pizza for a year or 2 years, you're like, fuck that, I'm never going back to that shit.
Yeah. So there's definitely like I'm a great example of just someone who's just like, I can't do this anymore, and you could go and be humbled by it and be motivated by it. But I'm saying in a perfect world where you are I think educating yourself and you're saying, look, I got these guys on YouTube, they're setting me on the right path, I have the right mentality, that if you can avoid those bullshit jobs and still have the right mentality, you should do it and just gain things that are going to have value in the future.
Oh, I think working at Subway or McDonald's or all that stuff does have extreme amount of value because
I think more people get lost in it than it provides value. Like I think you're taking a bigger risk going and getting some bullshit paycheck, wasting your time there, than people get building character and coming out of it. That's my thing.
I think anybody here working a bullshit job is probably not in that situation.
Not here, but we're just talking about it in general, right? But yeah, it's not to argue that you're not going to build character at one of these jobs. Of course you are. You're going to work in a really shitty industry. Getting up at 5 a.m. to go work. My first job was at Albertsons. I was 15 and a half. I got up at 5 a.m. to work job getting carts, throwing on that stupid ass orange vest, being very humbled all the time. And sometimes the sort of hitting rock bottom, whatever it is for you, will be what carries you through.
I think that's where it defines you too, right? Like you mentioned before, like some people will get those jobs, and we know people from our high school that may still very well be working at Target. And it's just like they reach that job and they stay there for 5 years, right? And it defines you, right? Like, so they did it for 5 years. We have people, we have classmates who are still waitresses and waiters at 30 years old, which they start at like 20 years old. Yes. So they got comfortable in it, which I agree with. But then for people like us, we did it and we're like, dude, how can anybody want to barely afford rent for the rest of their lives? That doesn't make sense. And unless we had that experience, I don't think we would be as motivated to do what we're doing now.
Yes, that is true. I just am saying that if you already have that mentality and you can see you can get that, like a lot of people's parents are fucking suck. They're working the McDonald's jobs. It's very easy to see mom and dad, as much as you love them, barely paying rent, borrowing $100 from their son or whatever. Yeah. Say, look, I don't want that shit. You don't necessarily have to go and put yourself in their shoes.
So Dan Locke actually had a good quote. It's in FU Money. It says, all success comes from frustration, right? So if you're not getting frustrated, for example, learning how to code, can't imagine. Everyone here, guarantee in the chat, has felt frustrated with code at least once, even in the beginning, right? So all success comes from frustration. So if you live this life where you're not getting frustrated, and it's better to feel frustrated at multiple angles. Like if you're only frustrated at code, you only learn lessons about code, right? But if you feel frustrated in other aspects of life, like dating, right? If you feel frustrated about dating, then you're going to start working out, you're going to start dressing better because the frustration of getting rejected. If you get frustrated at work with Subway, that's a different angle of getting frustrated. You want to get frustrated at different angles so that you're just more well-rounded instead of just being a code god, only a coding person. Because if you only know coding and that's your only thing that you got, you're not going to be well-balanced and you're actually going to get capped out. It's the CEOs, the people who start companies are usually well-balanced people. They have good soft skills. They have different angles of life, but it's usually not the person who's only became a coding god, only did coding that becomes as successful.
Just because you're not working a shitty part-time job doesn't mean you're not going to get frustrated. There's frustration in every aspect of life. The dating, school, coding, family.
But I think that working the shitty job is an important, really key part of the frustration.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is everyone here is going to work a shitty job, so we're just talking about hypotheticals.
Yeah, you're right. And it's pretty unlikely if someone's not going to work a minimum wage job.
Yeah, I'm just saying, in a perfect world, if you have the right mentality and you're able to stay at home rent-free and just grind it out, that's what I would do if I was 16. But in the real world, most everyone here's parents aren't wealthy. Most everyone here aren't independently wealthy by the time they're
there's a reason
young adult, right?
There's a reason why people keep writing in the chat. Like I worked at Subway, I worked at Pizza, I worked at Papa John's. We all had to do it at one point. And this part, what I think is saying, it's good that we're opening up to them about our experience of doing, because like they're probably thinking like, oh man, I'm so behind. Dylan worked at Pizza Domino's for 5 years. I worked, yeah. So there's comfort in knowing that we were just there 10 years ago or more. 13 years ago.
For me, it was like 5 years ago.
It really was 5 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. on that note, we will leave you.
Yeah.
Check out Matt's channel at Engineered Truth. All that good stuff.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had a fun time. I had a fun time hanging out with you guys. We're gonna go get breakfast.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's noon, but I guess we're gonna get food. Bye, guys.